What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the video, to the channel, whatever the hell I mean. We're here for week 1 of the Pokemon Draft League that I'm taking part in. I'm going, and spoiler alert, I'm just going to let you all know right now. I already played this game. In the future, I won't be recording the team builders before I actually play the games. But in this case, I did, because I need to get it done. I was almost a week late playing this battle, and I just needed to get it out of the way, honestly. So, again, in the future, this won't be the case. For this one, though, we're just going to do the post-mortem and team builder in the same recording and the video will be both team builder and post-mortem on the battle. I'm not going to be doing live comms on the battle because I do not want to stream these, and I don't trust my computer enough to not be a big dumb. My PC is being a big ol' butthead lately. So, I can confidently say that my week one opponent is Beta. Beta has a team that is really disgusting. OU picks are Rillaboom and Greninja. UU picks are Sylveon, Nidoking, and Lucario. RU picks are Talonflame, who is also the Terra Captain. Go ahead and throw that in there. Cofagrigus and Araquanid. NU picks are Appleton and Slaking, whatever. And the Mega pick is Aerodactyl. This team is really gross, and I had a hard time prepping for it, to be totally honest. I had a pretty good suspicion that Rillaboom, Greninja, Nidoking, Talonflame, Aerodactyl, Araquanid, and Cofagrigus all had an equal chance of coming. Slaking, I just didn't have an answer for, and it's also very difficult. I didn't plan for it because I did not expect it to come. And that was alright because it didn't come. Appleton, a lot of the things that I could have had against other Mons, Appleton could have had instead. Or moves that I could have had to cover other Mons covered Appleton as well, so that wasn't a worry. Lucario didn't have a great matchup against my team, I'll be honest, so I didn't expect it to come. Sylveon, I considered coming because it's too good not to have it come between Pixelate Hyper Voice and having the special investment that it does. Sylveon had a good chance. I just didn't expect it. The two that I was planning for and that I was afraid of the most were Nidoking and Mega Aerodactyl. Because Nidoking, with sheer force and its access to electric coverage, kind of blows my team apart. As well as some of the other coverage it gets. I don't think it gets HP. You can get HP grass on it. It's really horrifying, and I don't like it. Also, the poison coverage. Hold on. Oh, sludge. That's what I'm looking for. Sludge bomb, earth power. This is the kind of set that I was expecting to bring with like a 4th move slot dedicated to whatever my opponent wanted to bring. That was what I was expecting as like a sheer force special attacker. And then Aerodactyl, I know, gets Thunderfang, and I got super hyper fixated on protecting myself against that. And it just has a very solid moveset. Like that's just an example. Like the flying coverage comes, it's not Aerial Ace, it's something else. But Thunderfang, Earthquake, Rock Slide, if Aerodactyl comes, those are all horrifying. So, what I planned for was, I planned for both the electric type coverage and I also planned for Araquanid to come. I grabbed a rock type utility move on this. I did change one thing on this team. That's my week 2 team. I want week 1. I did change one thing on this. 80. Okay. So this is the proper team with the right investments. Slot 1 was Rodder the Toxtricity, who is my Terra Captain. and I grabbed Terra-type Bug on them. An Assault Vest, this thing is actually surprisingly bulky, and I wanted to have a little bit of defensive investment because, honestly, I play my games very defensively. I'm not a big fan of playing games that are hyper offensive. I like to have the one, like, powerful mon in my back pocket, but yeah. Punk Rock helps with the Boom Burst Overdrive split coverage, but I didn't bring one of those because I prefer switch priority, and Toxtricity was not going to be my weapon to deal with a lot of this team. Boom Burst just rips everything that isn't named Caphagrigus apart, and isn't especially bulky. Sludge Bomb and Volt Switch are your stab coverages on this thing. And Hex. Hex I brought because I was planning on poisoning the Caphagrigus and then just spamming Hex against it. And it does a good amount of damage coming off of max special attack Toxtricity, both with and without the buff. So I brought a kind of bulky special sweeper to this one. Max special investment, HP going to odd in case of hazards, and then just split the other two. Split these numbers. I probably should have put it all into special defense. Why didn't I? I probably figured that having that one extra point wasn't going to help me a whole lot. Yeah. That's my own fault. So that was Toxtricity. That was a really good counter to most of my opponent's team. And you'll see in the battle, it was actually significant. It could have been significantly better than I think I even realized. Next up, we had Porygon 2, aka Glitch 2.0. A Violite, because, of course, if I need to bring something else on this mon, I'll have to just bring something else entirely, because Porygon 2's strategy is a Violite. Brought Trace, and in the battle, this actually goes kind of wild, I'm not going to lie. What you'll see when I actually do the postmortem. And the set is Toxic, Recover, Shadow Ball, Pain Split. I know it's super toxic. I know it's super cringe to bring both Recover and Pain Split, but I wanted to have as much recovery as I could on this thing because it was my special wall, like the dedicated special wall. It was also my Caphagrigus counter. It's specifically designed to sit in front of Caphagrigus and just bully it. Investment, pretty straightforward. Special investment with 248 to get that odd HP, and then I just put the rest into defense. That's a pretty standard spread. There's nothing too unique about it. Like I said, it's built to beat Caphagrigus, and I don't think anything on my opponent's team would have eaten a Shadow Ball outside of Terra Normal Talonflame. So, that's that steal. Kid Drac, the Gligar, comes this week. Another Violite mon, because I'm disgusting. And it's honestly Gligar's only purpose. It's defensive. That's its gig. Immunity is its best ability. Hypercutter's good too, but I can't deal with immunity, to be honest. Alright. I can't deal with poison on this thing. That's why Gliscor is better, I think, than Gligar, because it has poison heal, and it's super busted. So, I went with immunity in the event of poison coming in to play. Defog for hazard removal in the event it came. In retrospect, probably could have brought U-Turn in this slot instead. I think it would have been a little bit more useful. Rock Slide is coverage for things that are weak to rock, including Araquanid, which was one of the big ones I was afraid of. Toxic, because Toxic Hex was the big strategy, and Roost. Roost for healing. Pretty typical set. Again, odd HP, max defensive, a little bit of attack to pump its power up a little bit more. Nothing too fancy here. Pretty typical Gligar set. It just good defensive mon. I wanted to have something that had some good defense on it that wasn't named Big Gulp, who we'll get to in a moment. Pretty straightforward. Nothing unique there. Merv, the Swampert, is the set that I put the most time into outside of Rotter, because Well, we'll go to the stat spread first. So with this stat spread, I outspeed Under Rain and Mega Evolved with Swift Swim and all that stuff. I outspeed Mega Aerodactyl with max investment, positive nature by 2 points. With that specific investment. It's a lot of investment into speed, but I wanted to make sure that I outsped that thing because otherwise it could do a lot of damage to me and be a problem. I want to make sure I outsped it because Earthquake destroys Aerodactyl. It's the best thing I can do. Only thing my opponent could do to counter it would be to bring Trick Room, which I'm not expecting. And then this covers everything on his team. Every single mon except Slaking, but honestly, Slaking, you switch into a physical wall, Toxic it, and then just try to not just wait it out, but also try to bring in a special attacker to deal damage to it. Murph has Flip Turn, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Ice Punch. 3 of these moves will basically come every week that I bring Swampert as a physical sweeper, a physical rain sweeper. It's too good. It's amazing coverage. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty common set for this guy. Damp, I'm bringing his tech just in the event that any sort of weird tech stuff comes. This thing is going to be Mega Evolved, so Torn is basically useless to me. So I figured Damp is a little bit better. Big Gulp, the Pelipper comes as my Drizzle setter. Big surprise. Leftovers, because it is not an attacker. I might need to start bringing Scarf on this thing, honestly, now that I think about it. But Leftovers to give it a little bit of recovery. We've got U-Turn, Hurricane, Ice Beam, and Roost. U-Turn is good switch priority. Hurricane is fantastic special attack. Under Rain, it bypasses accuracy checks. Ice Beam covers Rillaboom and Nidoking and Appleton. It's just a tech move I decided to throw on there. Roost for recovery because it's a big, thick boy. It's another defensive mon. Negative attack because U-Turn isn't its main attack. Hurricane and Ice Beam are the coverage I need for other stuff. Not much to say here. Rain Setter with some moves to help it if it needs to come in and bully some stuff. I think in the future, if I bring Pelipper, it's gonna be Scarfed. Last of all, we've got the one addition I made in the off-season, Roserade, Masquerade. This thing is another special wall, like Glitch. It's got Black Sludge. Poison Point is the ability to try to get more poisons out there for Rodder to hit with Hex. It was the best ability, honestly, of the 3 for the strategy I was going for. A very fun set. Weather Ball, Extrasensory, Giga Drain, and Sludge Bomb. Weather Ball is normal type outside of Rain, but in Rain it's water, which gives it something to check, fire, ground, the other types that are weak to water. Some good water coverage there instead of running HP anything. Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb are just honestly a good pair of stab moves. Extrasensory for that flinch chance. And then it's just a special wall. Nothing unique here. A little bit of special attack investment, odd HP. Nothing fancy here. Just designed to take special hits, be the grass switch in. Even uninvested, I'm pretty sure Rillaboom can't do a whole lot of damage to this thing if it wants to go for Grassy Glide or like any of its other moves because of the poison resist. Not that this is a switch in for Rillaboom. That was Kid Drax's job. That is the team. And I will see you guys when I pull up the replay for the postmortem. Alright, we're here for the postmortem, y'all. My opponent brought pretty much what I expected. Sylveon, not one of the ones I was expecting. No Mega Aerodactyl, which that threw me for a loop because, again, a lot of no Mega Aerodactyl and no Nidoking. So it threw me for a loop because there was no electric coverage on my opponent's team that I could see, right? So I figured this will be relatively straightforward. I don't think this will be a worry. So for the lead, we go Pelipper, try to get the rain up for my Swampert, and I figure Greninja comes in. What's this thing gonna have? I don't think I need to worry about it too much. I think whatever it's going to go for. You know, nothing particularly fancy. I think it's, I don't think it's got anything that's going to be worrisome to me. Maybe Ice Beam. But it's going to outspeed me no matter what. So we'll go for the slow U-turn. And we'll get Pelipper out of here so we can save it to send in against other threats. That was a huge mistake. That ultimately cost me. Greninja had HP Electric. Yep. I'm mad at myself too. It took out Pelipper turn 1, which kind of just demolished my range strategy. Granted, the whole reason the range strategy was a thing was because Aerodactyl was something I was afraid of. Aerodactyl having Thunderfang was such a huge concern for me because I thought it was like definitely coming. So I focused way too hard on that. Totally missed that HP is a thing and Protean Greninja is disgusting and I hate it. So Pelipper went down turn 1. So I'm already at a disadvantage because I made a big stupid misplay. The easy counter here is just to switch into either of my ground types. Honestly, Swampert would have been a great switch in here. Rain was set up. I didn't need to worry about it. It was an easy click. It was an easy alternative play. In retrospect, it's the obvious play. Let's be honest. So, lesson learned. This is one of the reasons I'm considering Choice Scarf on Pelipper in the future, because the defensive stuff just isn't working on it. So, Swampert comes in, I Mega Evolve it, and I outspeed the Greninja, obviously under Rain. I go for Rock Slide. Greninja takes 50% damage, which was huge. Greninja uses U-turn, fair play. I think that is the best play my opponent could have made, just getting out of there against Merv. And he goes into Confagrius. Now at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm behind. This thing is going to be physically invested. There's no doubt in my mind. This thing is definitely his physical wall, his physical counter. If not Rillaboom, potentially, but probably this thing. So I'm like, I'm not going to be able to take this out. I'm running damage calcs, and I'm like, my Swampert is not going to be able to take this thing out. Period. So I decide, I do some research during the battle, and I decide, Flip Turn's a good move. Flip Turn is actually a really solid move in this case, because Mummy does hit me, but when I switch out, it goes away, so I get supposed to swim back no matter what. Flip Turn. It loses a good chunk of its health, which is really good. So I send in my not counter to this thing. Kid Drac. I'm not entirely sure why I sent in Kid Drac here. Don't know what I was expecting my opponent to go for, to be honest. Because my dedicated switch in to this thing was Porygon. But, it was Body Press and, it was fighting type moves that I was worried about, because Body Press kind of bullies my Porygon. Which I didn't realize was a strategy until this battle. And, as you can tell from the chat, it's a Body Press set. Iron Defense, it's a Body Press set. It's going to be going for that. So, yeah, Kid Drac comes in, and the easy play here is just Toxic this bitch. And I ran some calcs, and I'm like, I have like 509 defense here, or whatever my defense is in this battle. I can eat whatever this thing wants to throw at me. If it wants to Body Press this guy, fine. I eat this, no problem. It's not going to do anything to me. And I have Roost to recover off if he does do enough damage to me. So I just Toxic. No worries. He goes for Body Press. Nothing really changes there. And it goes for Body Press. And I only lose 18% of my health with Confagrius probably hovering around the same defense as a Kid Drac, maybe a little higher. I clicked Roost because I didn't think Rock Slide was a good play. It definitely was in retrospect. Minor misplay there. I should have just gone for the attack. I was too worried about, after turn 1, I was too worried about playing this slow and carefully and being very conservative with my plays. Terrible idea. My opponent hard swaps into Sylveon. And I go for Rock Slide this turn, which was a much better play. Kidrek uses Rock Slide. Takes a little bit of Sylveon's defense out. This thing is probably physically invested. So, Kidrek is not a great counter to this. I'm expecting something on the special side, and Kidrek does not have any special investment at this point. So I hard swap into Glitch, who does have this physical or the special investment, to take this hit a little bit better. But the Sylveon, and I don't know if this is true, and I haven't asked my opponent about this, this Sylveon uses Light Screen, which means it might be Light Clay, but I'm not sure. I think it is, because I think it lasts for the full 8 turns, but I don't fully remember, to be honest. So, I get Pixelate, which is kind of amazing, but that's not the play that I mentioned in the team builder. Sylveon goes for Wish to heal up, I guess. I go for Shadow Ball because I'm just trying to get something going against this thing. The better play here is probably Toxic, but I was also like, this was almost at midnight when this battle was played, so I was like exhausted already, so I was not playing well. Sylveon goes for Hyper Voice. Big surprise. Glitch goes for Toxic. Not a big trade-off. Wish comes true. Sylveon heals back up. And it's Toxic now. Puts it on a timer, which is fantastic. So Sylveon goes for Hyper Voice. At this point, I'm basically just trying to stall out the Light Screen. And I just go for Shadow Ball again. I get the special defense drop, which is kind of huge. Even with the screen up, that's a big help. We're just burning turns at this point. Healing turn. That uses Wish. I use Recover. Nothing spectacular. And my opponent sends in Greninja. I went for Shadow Ball because I was, again, just trying for that damage. I think the special defense drop is what my opponent was worried about. Obviously, the Light Screen is Light Clay because it's still up after 5 turns. So, Light Clay, Sylveon, no worries. It's a little bit of a problem later on if it can come back in and set up its full screens again, but I believe it did, so not a huge concern. Greninja's back at full health, which is a little bit of a problem, but it's not super defensive, so I could probably take it out relatively easily. Greninja goes for Water Shuriken to try to kill me, but because Porygon with Eviolite is stupid bulky, I take it no problem. I take a total of 9% damage, but I Pain Split, showing that in my hand, and I damaged myself because I had more HP, which was a bad play on 2 fronts. I showed my opponent more of my set. I showed my opponent my entire set, and honestly, at the time, I think I was considering the fact that because the Light Screen was still up, I wasn't going to be able to take this thing out. It wasn't going to happen. Ninja goes for U-turn. Easy swap. My opponent sends out Rillaboom, which is kind of a problem because it does get fighting coverage. But I click Toxic because Toxic spam is very good against this team. Light Screen goes away, but the Grassy Terrain's set up, which means both of us are recovering every turn. I mean, it's not a huge problem for me. I'm defensive, so whatever. I hard swap over to Tox because I know this thing is going to go for a fighting type move, and Gligar was probably the right switch, but this thing was actually going to be able to hit Rillaboom for some damage and the only other thing Gligar could have done against this was Toxic. Like, the Rock Slide wouldn't have done anything. So not a problem. I've got 2 things that hit this Rillaboom for massive damage. Rodder comes in, no problem, does massive damage. My opponent goes for Superpower, which was the obvious. I expected a fighting type move to come out. Tox heals back up a little bit and eats that a little bit well. Not crazy well. And I pulled out my Terabug for some reason. I think I was expecting a grass type move or something. I don't know. I don't know exactly what I was expecting. I showed my Terabug. I should have just stayed as regular Toxtricity, because showing Terabug, not a great play, if I'm honest. Sylveon comes in, takes a Sludge Bomb and toxic damage. And next turn, I just Volt Switched because it was going to kill no matter what. And I outsped the Sylveon unless it had any amount of investment, which it didn't, thank God. So I Volt Switched, and I just sent in Glitch. Because I'm like, this is going to be relatively easy for me to just drop something in here. And my opponent sends out Talonflame, and I trace Gale Wings. Also not the tech trace that I was talking about earlier. Talonflame outspeeds and goes for Bulk Up. So I'm like, oh, that's a little scary. It's trying to set up on me. And I Pain Split to try to recover some health. We both recover back up to pretty much to full health. And it's still bulking up, and I send in my Physical Wall. Because I'm like, I'm not playing this game. I have Rock Slide exactly for this reason, because this is the other reason I packed Rock Slide. That's right, this thing. I have no reason to not go in and just click Rock Slide. And if it's physical, I take that, no problem. Gale Wings doesn't work either, because it doesn't have full health. So, tech to keep in mind. I do not outspeed, of course, because Talonflame is still fast, but it goes for Dual Wing Beat. And does some good damage to me. And I missed my Rock Slide. And let me actually pull up some damage calcs, because I didn't run them at the time. But without any sort of, like, investment or anything, Rock Slide does up to 91% against uninvested defensive Talonflame. So if it's +2, it does 39 to 47%. So it's really good, and if I crit, it's dead. No worries. So that was the strat. I was just like, I just gotta start clicking Rock Slides and hoping for the crit here and do some good damage to it, because that's the reason I have it. The Talonflame misses a Dual Wing Beat. Sometimes foreshadowing is obvious. And I click Rock Slide. I hit this time, 36%. It looks like it's got a little bit of investment then, in retrospect. Yeah, it has a little bit of defensive investment, actually. Because minimum this should be doing at +2 defense is 39% with my set. So that's a little defensive investment. That's good. And we just start going for the same stuff. My opponent's clicking Dual Wing Beat. I'm clicking Roost because I'm trying to stay alive, and I do. And my opponent says, fuck this, I'm going to Greninja. And I just click Rock Slide. And again, Greninja, I know what this thing can do. I do not want any of my mons to take it. I switch to Glitch to eat the Ice Beam that I didn't know was coming. I thought it was going to go for Water Shuriken, but I'm glad I did, because that would have O-code Gligar. I don't even need to run a calc on that. That would have absolutely O-code. Glitch eats it, and here's the tech. Here's the tech. Protean Porygon against that Cofagrigus. Disgusting. I tank the Ice Beam relatively well. Greninja, goes for it again. I go for Shadow Ball. I take advantage of that Protean. I hit this motherfucker for 50%, which, from a defensive Pokemon, I know it's a Greninja, and it doesn't have great defense, but holy shit. Holy fuck. That's amazing. The obvious U-turn comes out. And here comes in the thing that my opponent said in the postmortem on Discord was Porygon 2's answer. Because I quote, fuck that bitch. I went for Pain Split because I'm trying to figure out what this thing goes for. Liquidation comes out and buries Porygon. So there goes my Cofagrigus counter. Unfortunately. So I'm like, well, shit. My easy counter here is Merv. Merv comes in. I click Rock Slide. As long as I don't miss. Even with Water Bubble, it takes it. And Water Bubble is a gross ability, and I fucking hate it. So I click Rock Slide. My opponent's Araquanid lives. And Liquidation comes out and kills me. And I need to see, with more damage calcs right now, if that normally kills me with the set that I ran. It does not. Full physical adamant nature, it does between 65 and 77% to my Swampert. At the time, I'm like, oh, that thing's strong. In the postmortem, I found out that thing's banded. I didn't realize at the time that it was banded. So I just send out Tox, because Tox outspeeds it. This thing is really slow. And I just click whatever move. I expect it to switch. It doesn't, but I kill it with Sludge Bomb. And then the Talonflame comes in. And I'm like, this thing outspeeds me, but I have the type advantage. Forgetting that I showed Terra Bug like an idiot. And it just... Oh, no, wait, I switched out. I haven't watched this in a couple days. So I switched into Kidrak because Kidrak walls this thing, no worries. My opponent starts bulking up. My opponent goes for Roost, so that's another move. This is definitely a physical variant, or a defensive variant, I should say. So it goes for Roost, heals itself up. I go for Toxic because I'm like, this thing is just going to bulk up and start being an asshole. And there's only a couple things on my opponent's team that aren't poison, so whatever. It had Lumberry, and I was super upset with that. So I was like, I'm just going to click it again, it's whatever. My opponent shows Terra Water, which is something I had considered in prep, but not something that I actually expected to come. And it goes for Terra Blast, which changes to physical because my opponent's physical attack is higher than its special attack. Kidrak goes for Toxic, hits this time, and it stays. And I'm left with a decision, and I don't remember what exactly I did. I think I stayed in with Gligger and just let it get sacked. Or I switched to Tox, and I get bonked by Dual Wing Beat, because, again, Bug type, forgot I Terra'd. And I'm like, well, about the only thing I can pray for is for not even Masquerade to come in and do anything, just for me to minimize losses at this point, because there's pretty much no way I can win. And if you can look down below, you can see that that's not what happened. So I play Switch games. I'm trying to get as much toxic damage at this point that I can. And make this as little of a loss as possible. Kidrak, I'm just going to sack it at this point. It goes down to Dual Wing Beat. Talonflame dies next turn to Toxic Poison. And whatever attack I go for, if I live. But it's a Dual Wing Beat. I'm pretty sure with the attack buff and Roserade's bad physical defense, I'm done. I'm cooked. So I'm like, GG's. This was a bad game on my part. I played like shit. And then the biggest RNG bullshit comes through and saves my ass. It goes for Dual Wing Beat and it fucking misses. I hit Giga Drain because I'm like, if I live by some chance, I want health back. And I kill it. My opponent sends out Greninja. I know at this point Greninja has Ice Beam, which is what I'm expecting it to go for. It does. I only lose 75. Giga Drain kills. My opponent sends out Rillaboom. All I've seen from this thing is Superpower, and I'm like, I know what this is going to have. This, with Grassy Terrain, this is going to have Grassy Glide. It's going to try to outspeed me. It does. Whatever. And I didn't realize just how good Masquerade was going to be here. Sludge Bomb kills from 88% health. And now it becomes a 1v1. I have scratched and clawed my way back in this battle from being down 5-6, 4-5, and 4-1 to make it a 1v1 against something that I don't know the full set on. I'm shaking at this point during the battle. And I just start clicking Giga Drains. And then my opponent clicks Body Press. Again. So we're playing stall games at this point. I click Giga Drain again. I get my opponent down to 2% health, and he goes for Rest. So, as bad as I feel about bringing very defensive, very toxic shit, this set is disgusting, because you'll see next turn. Homie has sleep talk. And I'm just there. I gotta start clicking Giga Drains. I gotta click Giga Drains. I have Weather Ball, which does nothing at this point. Actually, does it do anything in Grassy Terrain? I forget. Whatever. Not important. At the time, I'm like, Weather Ball's a dead move. I can't hit it with this. So whatever. Doesn't matter. So I go for Giga Drain. I take some of its health away. And it fucking has Sleep Talk. It's... What is the Suicune set? Calm Mind? Crocoon? It's Cofagrigus Crocoon. It's Iron Defense, Body Press, Rest, Sleep Talk as it's set. And I'm throwing up all over myself at this point. And again, at this point, I'm just clicking moves. I clicked Sludge Bomb. I don't know why I did that. I should have clicked something else, like Extrasensory, which at this point, I'm slowly realizing I might have to flinch stall this. I might have to go for flinch win, because it's all I have at this point. My opponent's at +4 defense. It's doing 55% of my health with each body press. All I can do is keep clicking Giga Drain and hoping it goes down. Down to 26%, and we're like, oh my god, am I going to win? I must have gotten max roll when I did 32% to it in the past, because I get it down to 2% again, and he goes for rest again. I just start clicking Extrasensory, and there's nothing more I can say. It's Extrasensory, it's Giga Drain, it's whatever I can do to minimize losses. I do get one flinch on turn 51, but at this point in the battle, I needed to get another Extrasensory flinch. I didn't get it, and that's game. I clicked Giga Drain for the last turn to see if I could shore myself up, but I knew at that point I was pretty much out of it. Yeah, so it's an 0-1. I played like dog shit during this battle, and this definitely affected my second battle, which as of recording, I have played. I've done all the recording for that, so it's another big reason why I'm considering Choice Scarf Pelipper right now, because Pelipper also had a huge problem in that game. The big failure in my strategy was letting Pelipper go down to HP Electric. Like, it didn't pass my mind. It didn't enter my mind that if my opponent didn't have either of the two Mons that had electric coverage, that something else would have electric coverage instead. It just absolutely did not enter my brain that something else would pack HP Electric. So, Choice Scarf on that, I mean, Choice Scarf on Pelipper is an option I'm considering, but in terms of during this battle, I needed to hard swap Pelipper. I should have seen the HP Electric coming, and I should have hard swapped probably into Swampert, because, like, in retrospect, Greninja didn't really have anything to hit Swampert except Ice Beam and Water Shuriken, neither of which would have done great. They would have done some damage, but they wouldn't have been amazing. I think, honestly, that's about the only bad play that I can really say I made. Everything else, I definitely played pretty well against. I mentioned a couple of other times where I made some bad plays. I mean, clicking Roost on the wrong turn, clicking Pain Split, a couple of bad times, revealing my whole Porygon set. Those were both pretty bad. But outside of that stuff, I don't really see anything I could have done better. I think I played this very well outside of a couple of minor glitches and a huge sack that I should have seen coming. Turn 1. Accidental sack. But outside of that, my opponent played really well, had a really good team build, and I just fumbled it. I legitimately think I could have won this had I not sacked Pelipper turn 1. So, note to self, don't play games when you're supposed to be in bed. This game, I will also say, having already disclaimed that I've done all my Week 2 stuff as well as of recording this, this game definitely gave me yips in Week 2, which you'll see when Week 2 comes out next week. I'm very angry with myself for letting it happen. And not there was an easy way I could have won in Week 2, or at least mitigated the loss, but I got humiliated. Yeah. This was a good battle. I'm very proud of myself for what happened in this one, though. So that should be everything I need to say. I will see you guys next week for Week 2. Things will be a little bit more organized during that battle. As always, I want to remind everyone, we're all just trying to get through this crazy world one day at a time. So remember to be excellent to each other. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.